Hey, good day, Brian Terry and Disability Digest here, coming to you live from downtown Charlotte, Vermont. So today in our Facebook Live session, I've got 3 topics to cover for you based on some questions that have been sent in recently about getting approved, recent questions, healthcare, and income. I get lots of questions about income. So come on in, sit down, grab a seat. Welcome to my world. And let's get started. So first of all, one of the questions that came in, or we get lots of these actually, is like, I have been diagnosed with, and this is for those of you that are going through the approval process. I've got a couple points to cover, and then this is on to general information. So I have been diagnosed with, you name the condition, PTSD, IBS, depression, fibromyalgia, lupus, what do I do now? Or how does it impact my case? Or can I get it approved for? Or is this one of the special criteria for Social Security? So just as a reminder, and this is covered in our course that helps you go through and get approved, that it's not the condition that you have or that you have been diagnosed with that is going to be the determining factor that will get your disability approved. It is the limitations from that condition that is going to determine whether or not you can work or not work or limit your ability to work. It's the same thing if you're on benefits. Like if you've developed a new condition but it doesn't limit your ability to work, and then it's not going to be valid evidence. So if you have a condition like PTSD, depression, any of those, it's being treated. It is very clear in your medical records why it limits you from working. For example, for PTSD, you may not be able to be around other people. You may not be able to be in a room of more than 2 people. Or maybe it's somebody of a certain gender that is going to trigger your PTSD, and it's being treated, and there's nothing that can be done. So you're just not able to be around people. That could basically knock you out of a lot of jobs, and you could prove that you couldn't do it. So again, think about it from not the condition that you have, but the limitations that you have. And then the next step on top of that, very, very, very important layer, is the limitations that that condition causes, and that those limitations are clearly indicated in your medical records. So in the work that we do in helping people go through the approval process, we teach you how to communicate with your doctors to get your limitations into the medical records. So one quick tip is write down all the reasons why these conditions limit your ability to work, put them on a piece of paper, bring them to every doctor's appointment. Make sure that they're in your file. And then the doctor will just take those and put them in your file. That file goes to Social Security, so every time you go in, your file is updated. Maybe you'll only be able to be around 2 people 2 months ago, and now you can't be around any people. So it gradually progresses. Very short, condensed version of a super, super important step to getting your disability approved fast. But wanted to cover that. This is another one that is popping up, and it's kind of new, but it's a bit puzzling. So people have come here as members, and they interested in working with us. And for those of you that are new, looking at new here, or maybe you're a member and you're new and you don't clearly understand how we work, or you forget how we work, we provide free strategies to help people get and or maximize their disability benefits. So there's no charge for the work that we do. We help you get on your disability benefits. If you're already on your disability benefits, we help you maximize it. So my point and the question is this. Attorneys are informing people not to speak to anybody else about your disability benefits or going through the approval process. And perhaps they don't want them confused. They don't want them to go to other places. They don't want to lose a client. I don't know what it is. But this is my encouragement to you. if you're going through the disability approval process and you've hired an attorney or non-attorney representative and you don't know the process or what the process should entail, how are you going to manage somebody to determine if they're doing it right? So that's the course that we have. Part of the course that we have is it helps you to understand what the process is, what to do, what not to do, so that you can make sure that your representative is doing the job, or you can do it yourself. It's that simple. So just on my way through this presentation, a shout out to the U.S. women's national team, soccer team, for winning the World Cup, second straight. Absolutely amazing. And one of the things that stands out in this is I was listening or watching to an interview with Megan Rapinoe, who I feel is going to do some great things above and beyond the game. Actually, she already has. And her position in working with FIFA, the regulating body of soccer, to get equal pay for the women, in the interview that I listened to, is she's like, I want to bring as many people into the conversation as I can. Bring them all in, get different opinion, air it all out, let's lay it all out there, because we all have our part to do. Much the same with going through the approval process, and then you decide what's going to be the best, most valid resource for you to go forward. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. I want to talk about healthcare. Two things. Just want to talk about the differences between, I'm referring to my screen here, that's why I'm looking away for a minute. A consideration when you're looking for an insurance option with your Medicare. I want to cover that, and then a CYA plan. I want to make sure that you're aware of this. So two things. So the first part is a supplement versus advantage plan. Medicare comes with, and this is a very complex topic, and I'm hitting it just generally, and we have a lot more information here in our courses, YouTube channel, etc. But Medicare comes standard with Part A, and Part B you can take or decline. Most people take it. If you don't take it, you get a penalty. Cover that in a different topic. But most people take Medicare Part B. A is for the hospital, B is for your doctors, and then you can get Part C or Part D or other parts on it. Part C being a Medicare Advantage plan, and these plans are basically private companies like United Healthcare, Aetna, Humana, are paid from Medicare $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year to manage your health care. If you so choose to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, whichever company you choose is now managing your Medicare, and they're paid directly from Medicare. All right, I'm going to come back to that. And then the supplement plan is basically hedging your bet with a different plan that you are covering your catastrophic out-of-pocket expenses, and that you can see the doctors that you like. That's the general concept. But what I want to focus on in this part of the conversation here is brought on from a conversation yesterday with Cindy, who is a member here. And Cindy is here as a member because she has a disabled child that she's used our resources for, but she's also been in the insurance business for years, in health and life. And she had a personal situation with a family member where they became sick. They were on a Medicare Advantage plan, and they were hospitalized. And as a result of that, they were treated, yes, and went into the hospital and was taken care of. But the ability to select your treatment and the flexibility that you have on an Advantage plan is restricted because it is an HMO. You see the doctors in the plan, you follow their treatment program, and they take care of you. And most of these plans have low to no premium. They're very attractive in that sense. But you also, where I'm going with this is you need to be aware of what if you're vulnerable. Because what could possibly happen is you could get significantly sick, much more significant than your condition is now. And if that happens to you and you're in a Medicare Advantage plan and you don't have the flexibility to see specialists, what would that look like for you? Okay, so you have to balance that against the expense of, you know, bucking up and paying a little bit more and going to a supplement plan. So these are considerations that I encourage you to consider. Now is no better time than now to take care of your health, for sure. Plans are great and they work for people, but you know you better than anybody else, so it's really you that needs to zero in on this, and there's resources here to, you know, to help you kind of sort through all of that if need be. The next thing is this. Talk a little bit about CYA, cover your ass, is basically what it is. There's a lot of people that are on Medicare A and B, and they're not aware of their vulnerability. They figure, oh, I've got Medicare. Well, yes, they do, but Medicare A and B has it's an 80-20 insurance plan. So they pay for 80, you pay for 20. You give you an example of what happened and where this could be potentially problematic for people that don't address this. We had a member here that was a diabetic, and she had a diabetic heart attack, massive heart attack, and she had like an $84,000 bill, massive bill. And if she was on just straight Medicare A and B, she'd pay 20% of that $84,000, $16,000 something, maybe 17. Out of pocket, that's what she'd be responsible for. Whereas if you're on a supplement or an Advantage plan, you limit that. Like on an Advantage plan, they cap your catastrophic out-of-pocket expense, depending on the plan, somewhere between $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. So she'd still have to pay some out-of-pocket for an event like that, but it's not 16. So that is another thing. If you are on just straight A and B, you need to understand where you are financially vulnerable. Basically, it's devastating for people. The good news is this lady had a diabetic heart attack. She had just gotten on an Advantage plan, and so like a month before she had the heart attack, and she was like, man, that was a close one. So that worked out for her. Okay, so last topic I want to go over is income. You know, the reality of disability income, whether you're pursuing it and going through the process or whether you're already on it, is once you're there, it is a limited amount of money. Basically, it's designed to cover 40% of your income. Not 100. You don't get raises, COLA, you know, cost of living increase is small. So it makes it different for you to live on. And the questions just continue to come in, and they're really, I mean, there are answers and there's things that you can do, but I just want to give you some information that I kind of extracted from some different people that I've studied from. First one is that there's really only 3 ways that you can change your income. And this is from Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, and I'll put this in the show notes afterwards. The things that you can do are increase your value so that you're worth more. And if you're on Social Security disability, I have met hundreds, thousands of people that are still doing some great things and can increase their value and have increased their value. So that's one. You can invest. I don't know what your personal financial situation is, but if you're going through the approval process, I've seen back benefit checks from, you know, if you go to a hearing, anywhere from $25,000 to $84,000. I met with Carl Osterhow, and he had somebody that had over a $300,000 back benefit check. Invest. Invest wisely. The other thing you can do is to reduce your expenses. And that's one of the things that we help you do here, is reduce your expenses, your out-of-pocket exposure on the medical, all that. So there's those 3 areas. I don't know of any other. It makes total sense to me. So what we find is this. When we are working in 3 states right now and going through our members' health insurance and finance and how they're covered and looking at extra benefits. 1 out of 3 people on average is not properly insured. And the average person that we can transition into something for the service that we do, which doesn't cost anything, is $82 a month, about $1,000 a year. So I don't know which one you are. You might be 1, 2, or 3, but if 1 or 2 are properly insured, most people think they are. But as an end result, once they do a review, they're not. So as far as your expenses are concerned, that's one easy thing that we can help you out with. But I want to talk about the other one, about what you can do to increase your value. And I'll just give a general statement. A lot of people feel banged up when they go through the disability process. They're not able to do what they did before. It was in large part their identity, their work, especially if you're a guy. So oftentimes it's difficult for people to get, change and pivot and get back focused. Like, yeah, I can do something. But I truly believe, and I speak from the point that most people, I'm not going to say everybody, but most people can do something. So if you look at what it is that you can do to increase your value, just think about some basic things perhaps. Like, can you read? If you can read, you can learn. And if you can learn, you could probably explain it to somebody else. And that puts you in a position where you can teach. Right? So what could you teach? What are you interested in reading about? We live in a very in an interesting time with a lot of opportunity. Like, you're on Facebook right now. You can go out and start a Facebook group for free. You can read. You can teach. You can develop an audience. Your cost is 0. Once you have an audience, I expect you could do something with an audience. That's how Facebook started. It's free. You develop an audience, then you figure out a way to monetize it. So you might think I'm like totally out there, but that's a typical business model for anybody that's started. So don't discount it. It's probably not going to happen overnight, and maybe you're not able to read or your concentration level isn't there. I don't know what your situation is, but I'm just encouraging you to think, to start the conversation. We have a Facebook group here that helps people maximize their disability income, and one of the things that we look to engage people in is, what is it you want to do? What is it you can do? How could we help you do it? Is there something that you can do? So for example, if you started a Facebook group and it was addressing condition and condition-related symptoms for a condition like MS or fibromyalgia, you have individuals that are through there that need to maximize their disability benefits. I bet we could work out some type of partnership where we could work together on that, and that would help you finance it. So those are just ideas. So if nothing hits and nothing is registered, say, man, sounds great, but I'm coming up blank, this is what I do. I take some time out of my schedule. I go down to the coffee shop. I get a really good cup of coffee, Americano preferably. Get a little caffeine in you and just sit, piece of paper, pencil, and just start brainstorming, thinking. So, listen, that concludes today's program. I'll put Jim Rohn and that video in the show notes here, and I'd love to hear your comments, your ideas, what it is you think you can do. Maybe it's something we could do together, that type of stuff. So, we'll be back here next week. Hope you join us. It's been Brian Tarian from the Disability Digest. Make it a great day.